What if everything you thought you knew about the origin of the world's most famous fast food empire wasn't entirely true? Most people believe that McDonald's was built by a visionary genius who revolutionized the way America eats, a self-made man, a symbol of the American dream. But the real story, buried beneath contracts, ambition, and quiet betrayal, is far more complicated and far more unsettling. It begins not with Ray Kroc, the man most often credited with building the empire, but with two brothers, Richard McDonald and Maurice McDonald. In the 1940s, long before golden arches dotted highways across America, the McDonald brothers were struggling entrepreneurs in California. They weren't visionaries in the grand sense, just practical, hard-working men trying to make a living in a rapidly changing world. Their small drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino was nothing special at first. Like countless others, it offered car hop service, a large menu, and slow operations. But something wasn't working. Costs were high, profits were thin, chaos ruled the kitchen. So they did something radical. They shut everything down. For months, the restaurant stayed closed while the brothers reimagined the entire system from scratch. When they reopened, it wasn't just a restaurant, it was a machine. They introduced what they called the speedy service system. It was simple, efficient, and revolutionary. The menu was stripped down to essentials: burgers, fries, drinks. Each worker had a specific role, like an assembly line in a factory. Food was prepared faster, cheaper, and more consistently than ever before. Customers loved it. Without realizing it, the brothers had laid the foundation for modern fast food. But here's the first twist in the story. They didn't think big. The McDonald brothers were satisfied. Their single restaurant made good money. They franchised a few locations, but growth was slow and loosely controlled. They cared more about stability than expansion. And that's where Ray Kroc enters the picture. In 1954, Ray Kroc was 52 years old, an age when many people begin winding down their careers. But Kroc wasn't successful. Not really. He had spent decades as a struggling salesman selling milkshake machines. He had tried different ventures, faced repeated failures, and lived with constant financial pressure. Then one day, he noticed something unusual. A small restaurant in California had ordered 8 of his machines. 8. Curious, Kroc traveled to San Bernardino to see it for himself. What he found shocked him. Customers lined up. Orders were filled in seconds. The system worked flawlessly. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. In that moment, he didn't just see a restaurant. He saw a gold mine. He saw nationwide expansion, franchises in every state, a brand that could dominate America. The McDonald brothers saw a successful business. Kroc saw an empire. At first, the partnership seemed promising. Kroc convinced the McDonald brothers to let him franchise the concept on a much larger scale. In 1955, he opened the first official McDonald's franchise under his control in Des Plaines, Illinois. But from the beginning, there was tension. The brothers were cautious. They insisted on strict quality control. They didn't want reckless expansion. They valued consistency and simplicity. Kroc, on the other hand, was impatient. He wanted speed, he wanted growth, and most importantly, he wanted control. Behind the scenes, frustration grew. Kroc struggled financially in the early years. Franchising wasn't as profitable as he expected. He clashed constantly with the brothers over decisions. They rejected many of his ideas. They slowed him down. To Kroc, they weren't partners anymore. They were obstacles. And in business, obstacles are meant to be removed. What happened next is where the story turns dark. In 1961, Kroc made his move. He offered to buy the entire company from the McDonald brothers. The price? $2.7 million. It sounded like a fortune at the time, enough to make the brothers wealthy beyond anything they had imagined when they started flipping burgers. They agreed. But here's the part most people don't know. There was an alleged handshake deal, never written into the official contract. Kroc reportedly promised the brothers a 1% royalty from future profits. 1%. It doesn't sound like much, but today that would amount to hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. The brothers trusted him. They believed his word. They signed the deal, and they walked away. The royalty was never paid, not once. Because it wasn't in writing, there was nothing the brothers could do. They had built the system, they had created the brand, and yet they no longer owned any part of it. What happened next only deepens the story. After acquiring full control, Kroc rebranded and expanded aggressively. Under his leadership, McDonald's exploded across the United States and eventually the world. But he didn't stop there. The original McDonald's restaurant, the one in San Bernardino, was still owned by the brothers. They had kept it as part of the deal. Kroc saw this as a problem, so he did something ruthless. He opened a brand new McDonald's right across the street, with the same name, the same system, the same branding. The original restaurant couldn't compete. Eventually, it closed. The place where it all began, erased. Ray Kroc became a billionaire icon. He was celebrated as the founder of McDonald's, a business genius, a symbol of ambition and success. The McDonald brothers, they faded into obscurity. Most people never learned their names. So who was the first owner of McDonald's? Technically, it was the McDonald brothers, but history remembers Ray Kroc. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Who truly deserves credit, the creators or the one who scaled the idea into a global empire? The truth isn't simple. Kroc did transform McDonald's into something unimaginable. Without him, it might have remained a small regional chain. But without the brothers, there would have been nothing to scale in the first place. Innovation met ambition, and ambition won. This story isn't just about fast food. It's about trust. It's about power. It's about what happens when vision collides with relentless drive. Because in the end, McDonald's didn't just change how people eat. It revealed something deeper about business and about human nature. Sometimes, the biggest success stories come with shadows no one talks about.